Hello there! This is our first ranking of the different classes and kits in Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition. When I'm doing these rankings, I separated them out based off of the different roles that the characters can play in the party. So you might actually see some repeats across the various different roles. Now the four big roles that I hold in Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition and pretty much any D&D campaign are warriors, rogues, divine casters, and arcane casters. Now, as I just mentioned, these can kind of intertwine. They can kind of play. There are characters that can play multiple roles, but I kind of just took whatever is the main role, and then I did split the difference on certain situations when it's absolutely necessary. So now these lists are entirely my opinion. I don't have any hard specific numbers for any of these, so you're going to most likely disagree where I put these particular classes in these particular kits. As another note, I am exclusively ranking these based off of the single class use. We're not talking about dual classing or multi-classing in this situation. Now, generally speaking, if I were to have a tier list, this by the way is going to be a ranking video, but if I were to have a tier list, I would say there will only be really 3 tiers. The top of these would be like the awesome classes that are just the best at what they do. They might not even be the most versatile, but they are just so phenomenal at what they do that they are just gonna be they're gonna make the game a lot of fun to play. And the next, interestingly enough, are also called the you're gonna have fun classes. These have unique mechanics that make them fun to play on almost any difficulty, though they will provide a little bit of a challenge when you play. And that leads, of course, to the third category. I'm just phrasing this so well in this script, called the challenge tier, or the challenge classes, which are usually best played on lower difficulty. They usually require a lot of experience of the game mechanics in order to play, and you usually need to have a really specific plan and a lot of luck in order to play them. So a lot of these classes aren't necessarily bad or horrible, but they're just tough to play. So today I'm going to do something a little unique. I'm going to switch up the order. For the past kind of massive class videos, I've always started with warriors. I'm actually going to start today with rogues, because they never really seem to get to start any of these. So today I'm going to look at thieves and bards. Now bards are also going to double up in the arcane casters video, and I'll show you where they would rank in the arcane casters video when I finally do that video. Again, this is all just my opinion. I'm sure that there are some of you that will call me out and make comments saying I got this ranking completely wrong, or this other class is based off of other classes, based off of your amazing experiences, or based off of some statistical number or whatever, right? Leave them in the comments. I'm happy to be, happy to see different experiences. This is just my experience in playing the game. So, from best to worst, we're going to look at rogues, which are classified as thieves and bards. The worst of the rogues is actually the Jester. I pretty much have them at the bottom because these rogue classes are all pretty decent. So this is kind of in that quote, the challenge tier. And the big thing that really harms them is their song. Their song is just not good. The problem with it is that there is a bonus to the save against the song. The song can do some kind of interesting things, right? It leads to confusion. It really messes up an enemy party, but they're going to get a bonus to save against it. So I don't really see the use of even using the song. And unlike the other bards, the song is actually worse than the actual base bard, right? They don't get any specific disadvantages, that's very true, but they also don't really have any utility outside of spellcasting that a bard gets. So that's the reason why they're the lowest. They're not a horrible class, but they are at the bottom. The next is the Swashbuckler. This is going to be a little controversial, but again, I want to stress this. This is not a bad class. But the problem with it is that it's trying to be a combat thief when you already have fighter thieves that exist, either in multi-classing or in dual classing. the avenue that a Swashbuckler is for dual classing specifically is not great. Unless you want to dual class into a mage, which I think can be an interesting idea, a dual classing to fighter is not a good dual class choice. And if you're wondering why isn't it a good dual class choice, check out my dual classing video as to explain why. The big thing that Swashbucklers lose is backstab. It's punishing. It's really bad. Stealth is pretty much only used purely as utility, and for their HLAs, they get Whirlwind, just the normal Whirlwind attack, which has a major penalty to their THAC0. And so that's I don't think it's a really good trade-off at all. I think it's a really bad trade-off. Now, one positive about the Swashbuckler, in addition to their benefits in combat, their small benefits in combat, is that they do get all 25 skill points every time they level up. That is nice. That they have that going for them. So again, this is not a terrible class, but it is a challenge. Next is the Bard, and the Bard is the kind of the quote-unquote the start of the you're gonna have fun tier. They're decent tanks when they get enough experience, right? You really have to get them up to levels, I guess, 4, 5, and 6 to have them start using, really nice level 2 and level 3 spells. Once they get Stone Skin, you're pretty much set as them being a decent decent mage tank. I will say that the song is not super useful. They can be good at picking pockets when they put experience into it, and also when you use potions of thievery, right? That's a bonus 40 points to pickpocketing, and it's cumulative. So you can just snatch stuff all around town by being a bard. These can be powerful mages because they have they get levels faster than a normal mage does. They're gonna get more stone skins. They're gonna get more images in their mirror image. They're gonna get to those 5 darts for a magic missile just a little bit faster. So that's not too bad. You're gonna have fun if you play as a bard. I will say that you really do need to have a party to be successful. Not because the song is particularly good and helps out the party. In fact, the song is, I find it to be relatively useless. The bard is going to need assistance when they're doing combat, right? They can tank, but you're going to need to have a fighter or some sort of damage dealer to actually do the damage that the bard is not going to be able to do, because they only have 1 point and they only get 1 attack per round. They only get 1 point in each weapon. There's just not a huge amount that they're doing. The next is the Vanilla Thief. Now, Vanilla Thieves are fine. In fact, we're doing a playthrough. Basil, the King of Thieves, is doing his playthrough. He is a Vanilla Thief. They get full 25 points per level. They don't get any specific disadvantages. They don't get any unique bonuses outside of racial traits. I put them slightly higher than Vanilla Bards because they can actually solo if you want them to. They have a lot more utility. You have a lot of versatility into where you put your thieving skill points. For example, Basil is a great example of this. He doesn't have almost any points in find traps, but his set traps and his stealth are all really high, and he's actually pretty good also at unlocking items too. So I'm having a lot of fun in playing as a vanilla thief, but as we're gonna see, it's not the best thief to play. So you're gonna have fun if you play as a vanilla thief, but there are better thieves out there that can be a little more specified into what they can do. Not only that, but they can also branch out into other things too. Just because you play as any of the other thieves that may be more specific to either stealth or laying down traps doesn't mean that you have to go all in on that. You can also do other things. I will say that the vanilla thief, you have, it's a blank canvas. You can do whatever you want with it, and that is an advantage in itself. So the next I have is the Skald. The Skald puts bonuses into combat in and out of their song. The song is somewhat useful when you are taking advantage of the combat bonuses, because the song basically grants those bonuses to the entire party, right? They give a bonus to hit, they give a bonus, I believe they give a bonus to armor, and like the Bard, the Skald can be a good mage tank. and can actually do some good things with their magic as well. They do need a party, just like a bard does. But all in all, it's just I would say the Skald is just a little tiny bit better than either the base thief or the base bard. I think it's just a lot of fun to play, and you don't lose all that much. So now the next, and this is like the kind of the awesome tier. A lot of this is interchangeable from this point on. It's a lot of interchangeable stuff between the different play styles that you might be interested in doing. The next is the Bounty Hunter. Now, if you like traps, you're gonna want this higher, right? Yoshimo is just so much fun. Just lay an area down of traps, have an enemy waltz in, and basically have the combat over before it even begins. If you aren't a huge fan of traps, if you prefer stealth, this class is, I still think it's appropriate where it is. It's kind of like the lowest it would be. Bounty Hunters, you don't lose that much each level. You lose 5 points for each level. You only get 20 points of skill distribution. And you don't have to put it all into traps. The nice thing about traps is that once you get to 100 points in traps, you don't need to put any more points into it. You are guaranteed to set down any trap you want. So even if you have like 18 dexterity, and then you put even 95 points in, and then you manage to get the Tome of Dexterity, then you're automatically brought up to 100 points, and you're sitting in a good spot, and you can put your points into other things. You can put it into stealth. You can put it into pickpockets if you really want to. You have a lot of opportunities with Bounty Hunters, and a fair amount of versatility. So Bounty Hunters are a lot of fun. That special trap that they lay down is a great way to control the battlefield. But the fact that you kind of can set it off at a distance just makes it a lot of fun, and you can actually get an easy hit in before you even see an opponent. If you know where an opponent is but it's off the screen, you can just shoot that trap off halfway across 30 meters away or 30 feet away or however far it is away, and just have it set off, and then the enemy will come rushing towards you, landing into your other traps that you've obviously set close by. So it's a really nice way of starting combat. The Bounty Hunter can do a really great job at soloing a situation, and also can be a great party ad. Next is the Blade. Now the blades are my favorite bards. Here Delis is exactly what I want him to be. He's a great mage tank, but he can also fight. He also has the offensive and defensive spins. He has dual wielding. It's a really, really good combination. I think that he's a fun character to have as a companion. He can kind of hold up a front line, although you won't have him too long because mirror images and stone skins do run out, so you need to be very careful about that. But blades can be a lot of fun, and if you have a blade with decent stats and decent amount of HP, then they can actually do pretty well. So the Blade is probably my favorite bard. They just do what a bard should do, just a little bit better. The next is the Assassin. Now, if you value other things besides sneaking and backstabbing, maybe you might have this a little lower, but I think that the Assassin, the big reason why I put it as this spot is it's a great sneaking class, and you get a huge amount of physical damage. I mean, the fact that they can get 7 times the amount of damage on a single hit, that reminds me of like in 5th edition, the big comparison between like a paladin and a fighter is that a fighter's going to get a lot of attacks, kind of like in Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition. But a paladin, you'll have that holy smite that just is one big hit of damage. That's the assassin. The assassin's going to get one big hit of damage. They have to hit, but they get a combat bonus to do all of that. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. The poison, okay, whatever. They do get fewer skill points than any other thief, but you're putting that exclusively into stealth, right? Remember how I mentioned, like, when determining, a good class, if they do their job exceptionally well, even if it lacks versatility, it is just great. And this is one of those situations where they are just phenomenal. And the assassin is just a great class. You You really do need a party to back you up. But man, if you are looking for, like, if you have a good tank and you are able to just sneak behind and just pop this guy, you don't need just about anybody else. Maybe a mage to kind of deactivate some of the spells with, like, breach and I wouldn't say dispel magic, because that spell can be very, very random and very dangerous. But like remove magic or any of the other spells that kind of wipe out a mage's kind of magical protections, then pop that thief in, take him out with a knife or a short sword or a katana. You're gonna have an awesome playthrough. But the best thief, the best rogue in the game has got to be the Shadow Dancer. Shadow Dancer, hiding in plain sight, it's a game changer, right? The fact that, like, you be in the middle of combat and just slip in the shadows anytime you need to. And yes, they don't backstab as hard as an assassin does, but boy, times 2, times 3, times 4, that's pretty good, right? Bonus to their saves makes them very defensive. They use their stealth for utility, and that makes them a lot of fun. They get very cool HLAs that give them an alternative to laying down traps. They have very similar stealth abilities to an assassin, and they can put their points hypothetically into other things, even though they don't get as many points as like a vanilla thief does. They could hypothetically put it into pickpockets or unlock chests or picking locks, or disarming traps or anything like that. The Shadow Dancer really does capture what people typically think of when they think of a thief. And that's the reason why I hold it as the best rogue in the game. All of these classes, whether you're talking about the Shadow Dancer or the Jester, they're all really good. They're not all really good, but they all have a particular playstyle that do well. I will say that some of them you can solo with, some of them you're going to need a party with, but that's fine too. Some of them you can play on like extreme difficulty and do a good job on it until you die. And some of them, you might need to go on story mode, right? Just to see what the class is like, maybe on lower difficulties, baby difficulties. And hey, I play on baby difficulty. It's okay. Play the game that you want to play. You purchased it, you do it, baby. So with that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do, leave the video a like, subscribe to the channel. If you hate my rankings and you think that my rankings are just not good, leave a comment down below. Tell me where I'm wrong. Take care and good luck. We're all counting on you.